What was the smallest thing that made you have a crush on someone? She would kind of tilt her head when she talked with you and her ponytail would bob around. I don't know why that stood out to me, but it did. Ponytails are freaking cute. I don't care what anyone says. First crush sat by me on the school bus every day, and we didn't even have assigned seats. She asked me if I wanted to look out the window and count crap with her, so every day we counted random things together. That is full on indie film manic pixie girl meet cute. We were friends for a while, but one day she zipped my jacket up for me. It was about 3/4 up. She zipped it all the way up, surprised the frick out of me and made me blush. Am I weird? AWW moms are so sweet sometimes. Watching a friend have a drunken argument with a cockroach that crossed our path one night while walking home. I have no time for you, nor your prehistoric ways. She is without a doubt the best drunk I have ever met. Anyone who's drunk enough to argue with a cockroach but still retains the ability to use the word prehistoric is crushworthy. Smell. It is amazing how quickly I will develop a crush on someone just based on if they smell good, attractive or not. This is oddly the first thing I always pick up on. This is actually on a subconscious level. I read somewhere that you are somehow capable of knowing if someone had a good immune system from the smell of his/her sweat. She told me, "Do you want a cookie?" It was the first day of 3rd grade and she was new. I was sitting alone at lunch, and she came up to me and sat down. She had 2 cookies, and asked me if I'd have one. I didn't know what I was feeling at the time. She talked to me for a week before she never spoke to me again. Where are you, Chelsea? Probably at a bakery or culinary school, or Subway. I had just moved from California to Oregon and I was in the 4th grade. I didn't really know anyone or had any friends yet, so I was kinda alone. During class one day I had something in my eye and she noticed and told me to hold still. She grabbed my head and blew in my eye. It didn't solve the problem, but I had the biggest crush on her until 5th grade. In 6th grade, a cute red-headed girl talked to me at a water park while we were on a field trip. We dated for 6 months. In 7th grade, a sort of tomboyish but popular girl gave me a high five after we moved some tables in the library. I secretly crushed on her until high school. 9th grade. Popular girl but not the prettiest one. I don't even have a reason. She just seemed cool. I would never actually get to know her in any way. I crushed on her until I started dating an actual girlfriend junior year or so. When I started dating that girl, yep, still crushed on the other. Freshman year of college. Saw cute blonde from across the cafeteria. Figured I'd been a puss for long enough. Went and said hi. Also was semi-drunk. We had a class together and I'd bring her ice creams. She thought I was funny. Married 5 years this summer. That made me smile. Got shot by a handgun, like this, just with fingers, by a girl outside the window for staring at a lamppost blankly. Short like a sitting duck. When someone of the opposite sex says hi, I'm not a loner or socially awkward, I just can't seem to help it. Acknowledge my existence and I get a crush on you. Hi. He was showing me a video of his band performing, and when I put my head on his shoulder he absent-mindedly started running his hand through my hair. I freaking love it when people touch my hair. I feel like you had a crush on him before the hair thing though. He smelled amazing. The entire time I knew him, he smelled majestic. The smell just kind of wafted off of him whenever he walked by me, and I felt a deep internal need to sniff him subtly anytime he got close enough. I don't know if it was a really magical body wash or an orgasmic cologne, but he smelled nice. I totally understand. I judge people by their smells. There's a guy I know who I already thought was pretty great and then I ended up catching a whiff of his subtle, awesome smell and I just about swooned. I slept with a co-worker who was moving to California at the end of the week. We cuddled all night after some pretty good sex. I went back 2 days later. We had sex and cuddled all night again. The next morning, I helped him clean and stuff. Doing domestic stuff with him just gave me the stupidest crush. Because it was no big dealio, we just did it. Now he's 3,000 miles away, and I pine for him occasionally. It doesn't help any that he reposts for my family's fundraiser, which is more than my friends of 10 years have done. Honestly, I would move there with him if he asked. When I have a crush on a girl, I usually find myself trying as hard as I can to avoid eye contact. I often get confused when I'm trying to avoid looking at a girl, whether it's because I like her for some other reason. 2 or 3 times I've developed feelings for a girl because I was avoiding eye contact with her and I forgot why. I just stare at them until things get weird, and it usually takes a few minutes before I realize my hand is on my dong. His phone rang in class and the ringtone was the same as mine. Do you realize by the flaming lips? I walked down the aisle to it when we got married 5 years later. Now to find a young lady with the same as mine. Pony by Genuine. I was standing in front of the high school waiting for parent pickup and I turned to see this girl pointing at me and she said, "That kid is attractive." I guess maybe it was the first time I felt like someone really noticed me. I instantly fell. Danced intimately with some girl at a club. I immediately fell in love with her. I was sloshed and my friends told me if I could, I would have probably married her on the spot. Well, I went to the bathroom, came back and she was gone. Sad thing is that I can't even remember her face but still remember the feelings. Oxytocin is a heck of a drug, isn't it? My first real massive crush was because of a vibe I got from him. He always seemed like such a kind, gentle person. I can't explain it, but I felt like I had known him for a while and like I could tell him anything. I wrote him full letter telling him my feelings, front and back, and the last I heard he still has it almost a decade later. We've been close friends now for 5 years and everything I felt about him was definitely right on. He's one of my best friends and he's been there for me through heck. It's just weird that all of this happened because he just seemed like a nice person to me. It was a cold Tuesday afternoon at school when I saw her shivering even with a jacket on. I walked up to her to introduce myself and put forth my hand for a handshake. She clasped my hand and her eyes brightened. She smiled, looked at me, then decided to just hug me. She whispered into my ear, "You have such warm hands." I looked down at her, face flushed, head stirring, and almost collapsed, but luckily I just leaned against a pillar. We didn't know each other, but we didn't care. It was on that day that my heart rediscovered a feeling that I thought had frozen with the weather. The two of us just stood there, her hugging me gently and me just lost in time. A short time after she let go and told me that her couple had arrived. She waved me goodbye and told me her name. To this day, I have not forgotten her name, but she has found another person in her life. I may not see her again, but I will never forget that cold Tuesday afternoon that I decided to introduce myself to a shivering girl. And then you fell in love and got married and had 2 beautiful children, and you lived happily ever after. One time I was running the drive-thru at a fast food restaurant with a newer girl. We had this regular that was 16 or 17, and he was always really polite and he would even tip occasionally, but he was obviously driving his mom's minivan and he would blare gangster rap when he got to the window, so loud the whole store could hear it, and just rock out to it. The new girl had never seen this guy before, and she spent the entire time just holding back hysterics. When the guy was gone, she burst into laughter and said, "Holy crap, did you see that guy?" and mimicked his head banging, sending her headset clattering to the floor. She was instantly embarrassed, but her hysterics escalated instead of tempering, and for a second there I would have jumped in front of a train if she had asked. I wanted to hear that laugh always, in the middle of the night and in drunken hazes. I wanted it to wake me up in the morning an hour early when I had to work that day, and I wanted it to leak through when I tried to cover my ears with my pillow. I wanted her to blush like that when I held her hand, when I kissed her, when I asked her to marry me, and when she was so angry with me that she was throwing whatever her fingers landed upon. I wanted her smile to be present in my consciousness always, and to watch it grow up and then grow old, and whenever things went awry and I was sad or scared I could seek it out and be calm again. And then another car came through drive-thru, and the feeling passed. I thought I was the only one who fell in love with random people for just a moment at a time. Last year, before we had to decide which field of study we wanted, we had the opportunity to try a few different ones for a few days. In the computer web design class, we were assigned to code a quick PHP HTML website. This beautiful girl had chosen a very pleasant green as the background color of her website. I love green. I even managed to pull myself together and tell her I really liked the background color. From that day, I had a giant crush on her for at least 6 months. We are now quite close friends. When I was in high school, this girl beat me at Guitar Hero. It took a minute to sink in. A girl playing video games better than me? We played a few more games, and she beat me about 60% of the time. I was in love. Didn't last long though when I remembered that she lived 1,000 miles away. Hey there Delilah. She smiled and I saw those cute dimples. I then proceeded to make fun of the dimples for the rest of the school year because I didn't like the popularity of having a crush on someone. Dumb me. I still think about her 6 years later. Smile. Dimples. Friends with this girl for years. She was good looking, but nothing ever happened. I saw she had hairy armpits and everything changed. Yeah, that is one of my turn-ons. Don't question his fetish, don't question his fetish, do not question his fetish. Her eyes. I was working a summer job doing some renovations at this fancy schmancy retail store. She was cute, I guess. Brunette. Kinda short with a nice face. I first noticed her cause I was a teenage boy who was just noticing every girl around. But then I saw her eyes. They were a deep blue, like a set of crystals. They glistened. Fiery and fierce. Intimidating but sincere. Beautiful and terrifying. Piercing into my soul and not caring about what lay therein. Whoa, I'm a creep. I remember that one time, I looked a girl into the eyes and I just felt the need to have them. Those eyes. I needed to possess them. And I don't mean in a I want to look at those eyes every day I wake up besides her kind of way, but in a I can see those eyes in a jar on my shelf. I never saw her or her eyes again. Maybe it's better that way. My ex had a freckle on her gooch. Between her vag and butthole. I love that little thing. I named it Sparkles. This is serious. LOL. I feel like by the time you are inspecting her gooch, you are probably past the crush phase. She talked to me, told me she thought I was funny. 2 years later we just broke up for good on Monday. For a while though she was the love of my life. I may never meet another girl that loved me like she did. Both due to bad luck, life happening, and poor decisions on my part. I hurt her worse than I thought I was capable. I'll never forgive myself for that, but I'll always cherish the time we spent together. Cheesy though it may sound, I felt like the king of the world with her by my side. If she had a rough day and she is mad at something, I always do show something funny to her. When I see her facial expression turn into that smile, I feel like something falls into place, you know. My boyfriend was my close friend's flatmate. Me and my friend had been to the pub, then went back to his for dinner. Walked into the hall and BF walked out of the kitchen wearing monkey pajamas and drinking amaretto out of the bottle. Hair all messy. Typical lazy student. Didn't really think much of him. In a romantic sense. He seemed like a cool guy, but he spent the evening with us and their other flatmate and we all had a giggle. At one point, he looked directly at me, and I swear, the whole room just faded away. It was just me and him and he said super seriously, "I really love your beauty spot." Edit, reading this back he sounds like the lamest person in the whole world. I regularly mocked him for this pickup line, but at the time it killed me, and then looked away as if nothing had happened and I crashed back into reality. Crush appeared in an instant. I think it was his forthright confidence that got me. Went on our first day 2 days later. Got together officially 3 days after that. Moved in together 4 months later. Whirlwind. But we are madly in love. Also goddamn I love me some forearms and a good back. Add tattoos to either of those and I'm anyone's. I was out stargazing with a bunch of mates as well as some mates of mates that I'd never met before. Among them was the girl in question. Fast forward. Later on in the night I end up laying there stargazing with her and she points to a group of stars, draws out an area and says, "Hey, that group of stars look like the shape of Hyrule Field and Lon Lon Ranch." That was literally the greatest thing I ever heard a girl say at that point in my life. Crush mode activate. The way he makes his hand gestures and how expressive his face gets when he is excitedly explaining something to me. I don't really have a mind for cars, and I can't hear well, but I will always love how he looks when he explained stuff to me. Once I saw the guy on a city bus with really attractive elbows. I was taking figure drawing at the time and I just thought, wow, those would be the ultimate elbows to draw. He got up to leave and I almost told him what good elbows he had, but decided that would be creepy. We're both in the same martial arts class. These classes happen twice a week. I was only currently doing it once a week. He told me that I should come the other day because that's when we do sparring and breaking wood. I showed up on the other day that week. When I got round to being his sparring partner, he gave me the biggest smile I'd ever seen. Ever. She kicked one of my bullies in the nuts on the last day of 7th. She didn't do it for me. She just did it because he was in butthole. I was 5. A girl brought in her friend from out of state to show and tell. The girl threw back her hair, think the classic Rita Hayworth hair flip, and I fell in love. Her hair was long, dark and curly, and though she probably only moved her head now or something, in my memory I still see it as a hair flip. She stayed in the class a few days but I never spoke to her or saw her again. My first crush. I actually wonder how she turned out now. I held the door open for her twice in a row. She smiled and thanked me both times. That's when I knew we were meant to be. I was watching a music video for one of her band songs. I was watching thinking, crap, she's pretty cute. Then, her, wink, me, swoon. I was absent-mindedly tapping the first part of Shave and a Haircut on my desk in high school and she tapped out the last 2 notes. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.